Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good night. Welcome to everyone joining in. This is Live Healthy Miami Gardens, a health initiative on Facebook Live, an event and experience that occurs every Tuesday afternoon at 3 p.m. Standard Time. But glad to have you joining in whatever time you are now connecting. Our mission purpose at Live Healthy Miami Gardens, simply put, is to raise up a community, equipping a community with health and healthy resources so that Miami Gardens would be and continue to grow as a place where we live, we work, we play, we worship, we come alive being a healthy community where health resources are available. Where, for example, as we're doing this afternoon, we do have the educational experiences in which we're mindful of what health is, that we can practice good health, we can access health resources, and be an alive, dynamic, great community. Holy Family, to which I'm a part of, is very much a part of Live Healthy Miami Gardens as a faith community, to be able to access the experience that I just described being offered by Live Healthy Miami Gardens. And that is true for any group, any organization, any one, to be able to connect in with livehealthymiamigardens.com and learn more about our experience, the resources we offer. We look forward to growing partnerships, dynamic partnerships. Now, today, and speaking of partnerships, we will be exploring about brain health. Brain what? Brain who? Now, just maybe if we talked about brain surgery, that would something more readily, easily connect. But even before we get to corrective actions like brain surgery, let's talk about keeping the brain and working together. Yes, working as a community, but I, as an individual, doing what I best can need to do so as to make this gift, this, what would I say? My brain is an organ. My brain is an instrument. My brain is very much who I am. This afternoon, in our conversation, it is our greatest joy from Live Healthy Miami Gardens to welcome Patrise Tyson, who will explore with us more on this very significant part of who each one is, the gift that each one has, that is brain. Welcome to you, Ms. Patrise Tyson. So happy to have you. I see here in an introduction that you are a clinical research resource person.
Yes.
Clinical research.
Thank you so much for having me, Father Ward. I'm excited to be here. Yes, I serve as a sub-investigator for clinical trials. So that is the process when a pharmaceutical company would like to get a medication approved, it has to be tested. So I work with phase 1. So we test it out first in humans, and we're checking to see, is this drug safe enough to continue testing? We test in a very small amount of people at first, and we're looking, is it safe? What effects does the medication have on the body? What does the body do to the medication, so that we can know whether or not we should move forward with further testing.
You speaking, Patrice, I thought to myself, we're here to talk about brain, but we're also talking somebody who's highly skilled and hugely experienced in the whole matter uh, of of resourcing people, of engaging in pharmaceutical trials, so that we have someone in you who is very much committed to the health, to the well-being of our people. And in that regard, and folks, I really have to celebrate, snap, snap, clap, clap, here, Miss Patrise, who is a past president of the Miami chapter of the Black Nurses Association. Please, would you tell us a little bit about the Black Nurses Association, please?
Yes, we, as the Black nurses, have been in the communities for a long time, established in 1972. And we are very active, especially within the Miami Gardens community, for several years under the leadership at the time, it was Councilwoman Felicia Robinson. We participated in Meet Me Mondays. We're active in health fairs throughout the community. And our mission is to decrease health disparities through advocacy, education, and health promotion. So we are out and about, in the community, even during the pandemic. We couldn't be in person during that time, but even doing Zoom sessions and Facebook sessions like this to try to keep our community abreast of the current research and tips to stay safe.
Fantastic. And folks, if you've just heard the description connection, if you've heard, as Patrise has told us, the fact that the Black Nurses Association is all over the place. I serving as the rector there at Holy Family Church in the great city of Miami Gardens. I continue to hear of and events where the Black Nurses Association are present. They come with a passion. It's not just talk. They come with a passion for action. I must say that Ms. Patrise Tyson is one who has engaged in educational ventures and adventures. A graduate of the Florida International University as well as Marion University. And in addition to, she's very much a Greek. She is very much a Greek. And which Greek do you belong to, Ms. Tyson?
That is the Sigma Theta Tau Honor Society of Nursing.
And you see that laugh, that smile, folks. It tells you the passion, the skill, what it takes to really help us as a community, as we are experiencing or is made available through Live Healthy Miami Gardens. I want to say Live Healthy Miami Gardens.com. The Live Healthy Miami Gardens initiative, deeply committed in bringing our people together to resource our people to be healthy. And so let's talk one particular aspect of health today, Ms. Tyson. Brain health, is that putting it straight to the point? And can you tell us why brain health and what is brain health? I'm here to get healthy this afternoon, so I mean I'm putting my brain in your hands.
A lot, because our brain just does what it does, but it is the control center of our body. And there are things that we can do to inhibit the well-being and things that we can do to promote the well-being of that brain. So that's a little bit about what I would like to discuss today.
But why is brain health important? Is it reasonable to say that the brain is an organ, just like the heart or Anything else? And why must I pay attention to keeping my brain healthy?
Yes, that is a great question, and you're not wrong to consider the brain an organ. But we are in an epidemic of dementia, Alzheimer's, and particularly within our Black community, according to the Alzheimer's Association. Black Americans are twice as likely to be affected by some form of dementia as opposed to our white American counterparts. So this is serious. So we need to take a look at what things, there's definitely a genetic component, but we want to talk about, it's a big word, epigenetics, which means above the gene, and that is how our behaviors and how our environment can influence how these genes are expressed. So there's the genetic part that we can't control, but the things that we can control to promote our well-being and to do our part to help us to keep our minds for ourselves, for our future generations. We want to be able to do those things and empower the community to do those things.
I'd like to go back to a word terminology you use and help me to get it right. And could you say a little bit more, if possible? Is it epigenetics?
Yes, epigenetics,
Yes.
it means above the gene. And it's the idea that our behaviors and the environment, like the things that we're exposed to in our daily life, where we live, what kind of food we eat, what kind of physical activity, what kind of job we work, all of these things work in conjunction and affect the way that our genes are expressed. So, for example, you might have a grandfather that had Alzheimer's. So, because of that, you might have a gene that you're genetically predisposed to that gene. However, it might not express in you depending on what your behaviors and your environment is.
And so I'm trying to understand epigenetics. You're saying that it is a crucial factor to understanding the brain and the functioning of the brain. That there are key factors deep in my makeup, and it would be an advantage to understand to understand me and to understand my brain is also to understand my family's health history. You cited grandfather, and what I thought I heard you saying was, grandfather's behavior. That if I can understand grandfather's behavior by, say, for example, talking with my family, I can further understand what the resultant effect or what might be in store for me going forward. Is that a reasonable summary connection? Epigenetic.
That is reasonable. I do want to point out that it's not a 100% thing. So it's not 100%, oh, your grandfather had Alzheimer's, you're going to get it. Neither is 100% that your grandfather had Alzheimer's. So you implement all of these behaviors that are associated with decreased rates of dementia. It could still happen. However, based on the available science that we have and those things that we know that we can do, it's worth a shot to do as much as you can do to try to stay healthy.
Well, I think if I can better understand my family's social history, the origin of my family, and who married whom or who lived where, all of those kinds of experiences. It is as important for me to take time out to understand my own makeup in relation to my family. And this is no rocket science. The point being, as I'm hearing, is pay attention to who you are. a part of paying attention to who I am is to pay attention to that organ, my brain, which is hugely, hugely, hugely important. Ms. Tyson, in as brief a way as possible, um, can you describe the brain for us, please? Or what is this brain that we're talking about this afternoon?
You gave me a tough challenge. I don't know that there's a brief way to describe it. However, I did mention earlier that it's like the control center of our body. We are breathing because there's a part of our brain that's telling us to breathe most of the time, unless somebody might tell you to take a deep breath. Or when you're asleep, you're not consciously telling your brain to breathe. It does it on its own. It's an incredibly complex organ, but it is the control center of our body. Aside from our breath, it controls our heartbeat, our metabolism. It sends signals to the hormones, and it's full of neurons that are making connections to tell our body to do several processes, your digestion, and all of these things that we don't even think about, aside from our voluntary movements. So I want to lift my arm, I can tell myself to do that. But aside from that, there's so many complex processes going on in the body that we don't even think about, controlled by our brain.
A very, very quick story of significance for me. In my first seminary, that is where I began my theological training for ministry of serving in the church. We were presented with the body function, and I remember having a little on the brain, and that I remember struggling one whole year to read this little book, which was less than 100 pages. I read it several times that year. I did not understand anything it said. But as the years have gone by, I understand and continue to understand more that I must pay attention to this mission center, to this mission control center. As much as I pay attention to my general health, I pay attention to the medications that I may take, or the vitamins that I might take. I have to pay attention to that functioning of the brain, which is why you're here this afternoon. Now, one of the things growing up in the Caribbean, and in particular Jamaica, I grew up with a term, losing your mind. Oh, don't pay attention to him. He's just losing his mind, has lost his mind. But that's a very special phrase, though, that has some really significance behind it. You mentioned the word dementia, and I continue to hear the term losing your mind, with dementia. Is this a part of your work, and is this something that we must pay attention to, particularly in today's society, the whole matter of losing your mind, or dementia? Is it something of significant importance today?
Absolutely. As I mentioned earlier on, we're in an epidemic of dementia, and when I say dementia, it's not just Alzheimer's, because there's various forms of dementia, which is outside of the scope of what we're talking about today, but just the general impaired ability to remember, your impaired ability to make decisions, and ultimately, when it gets so advanced, impaired ability for individuals to even care for themselves and live on their own anymore. It's disproportionately affecting our Black communities. And I think because it's so common and so widespread today, a lot of us are thinking, oh, this is just what happens when I get old. But believe it or not, it's not a part of the normal aging process to lose your mind, as you said.
It is not a part of the aging process.
No.
I'm trying to wrap my brain around this. It is true that as we get older, um, that we need to pay even more attention as to how to continue to be healthy. As we get older, we need to pay attention to the things that keep the mind alive and going and growing. Uh, uh, what are the kinds of things that are needed and necessary to keep my brain, alive, going and growing? So let me pause at this point.
Well, with the brain, uh, it is really like a use it or lose it situation. As we age, it is important to remain active with your brain. So, some people after they retire and they're not doing their job anymore, they're just sitting around the house, they are at risk for having some of decline in their thinking abilities. So it's good to stay active, even doing things like crossword puzzles, taking up a new hobby. And we used to think that we couldn't learn things, after we got to be a certain age, but you can still learn new things. And that is good for your brain. It helps your brain to make new connections. Even though you're old, you can still make new connections with the neurons in your brain that send signals. And taking up a new habit or learning something new is one of those ways that can be done. So it's like exercise for your brain, and also physical exercise is good for our brains. There is literature to support that individuals that exercise regularly, they actually have larger, the part of the brain that's associated with thinking and memory is actually larger in those individuals that exercise regularly. So fret not if you're not exercising regularly though, because in about 6 months with regular exercise, it has been shown that you can start to increase those areas, the size of those areas in your brain as well. And it doesn't have to be anything drastic, just walking for 30 minutes a day, and if you're not able to walk or to get out, I always say, for those that like to watch television or Netflix or any of those kind of things, when you get on a commercial break, stand up, do something, do walk in place during the commercial breaks. It's not like an all or nothing. Even if you can only be active for about 10 minutes at a time, you do 10 minutes in the morning, you do 10 minutes in the afternoon, 10 minutes, after dinner, it really helps.
I thank you very much for that. In which you're saying, keep on moving, keep on moving. In my library is a book I read last year called The Joy of Movement. Um, I hear you celebrating, I hear you encouraging, no matter how simple it is, keep on moving. Because those moving parts are connected to the brain. As you said, that the brain is mission control. It's a center in which there's continuing dynamic, a continuing dynamic relationship. There's continuing conversation, um, and the more I move is the more I utilize the muscle. The more I utilize the muscle of my brain, the more I utilize that organ, is the more healthy a lifestyle, or the more healthy, or the longer I will remain healthy. Uh, is that a reasonable practice thing for me to continue to do and to emphasize as I get older?
Yes, it's critical to continue to emphasize that not only the mental exercise of continuing to use our brain and be active in learning new skills, but the physical part as well. And also the physical benefits of exercise, they're so plentiful. And you even gain some benefit because the exercise not only is good for your brain alone, but it also helps to decrease the risk for some of the other diseases that can cause us, like heart disease and high blood pressure, that could possibly contribute to a stroke, which could then affect our brain as well.
I want to come back to this in a moment, but we have several persons who have joined us for this live moment of a conversation. Ann Bennett posted earlier that she is finding this a very, very intriguing, informative subject, as posted here. I have a friend going to surgery on Thursday for a brain tumor, which has affected the friend's speech. Can you, if it is at all possible, what kind of therapy will and will there be brain therapy possibly for this person post surgery?
So I'm not familiar with the case in particular. However, for a case like that, I would imagine they would offer some speech therapy afterwards, but I won't be able to give a lot of detail without knowing the individual case.
I understand very, very much. So, I mean, you are empirical data engineer and manager. I was in my own just ordinary day-to-day life experience, thinking that how could Anne support her friend, post surgery, so that let me maybe begin further. To further is maybe at some point I could take my friend, Anne could take her friend a book of puzzles.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
That one gift Anne could give to her friend post surgery is a book, crossword puzzle that friend could work on as therapy to learn again, and not just learn, but could become excited without even knowing the terminology or using the terminology of brain health. But I think once she would want to do something tangible to show love and support for her friend. Would that be a reasonable action for Anne to do?
Yes, and like I said, depending on the situation, her situation in particular, I don't know if they might order her some time to a period of rest or after the surgery or whatever. But once she is able to have visitors again, absolutely sounds like a great idea, and she's very lucky to have a friend like Anne to support her on her healing journey.
What the picture here is that while I must take care of my brain, is also being able to use that brain in my social connection, in community. I have a brain in which I can think, I can make decisions, I can act. It's also to see the brain, isn't it, as a way of bringing us together in community. So the brain is not just simply an organ, my organ. It is a part of a whole complex system to make the world a better place.
Yes, that's a great point, and definitely there is a lot of value to community and togetherness and friendship and being around our friends and loved ones, boosting those feel-good chemicals in the brain. So definitely that's a a valuable aspect, the point that you make, Father Ward.
I want to take a step back and yes, you thank you very much. Talk about brain chemicals. Can you say just a little bit on what kind of a chemical system or systems or what type of chemicals are there in the brain? And I'll tell you afterwards why I asked. One other reason why I asked that question. I'm going to come to medication and vitamins and all those kinds of support methods.
Yes. Well, you'll hear one that you'll say your feel good chemicals. Endorphins is a word that you'll hear when we're talking about that, and that is also released when you're exercising. By the way, to go back to that point, we also have some chemicals called oxytocin. That's the one that makes you fall in love. For mothers, after you're born, that helps you to bond with your child and gives you that sense of love that you never knew that you had before. And also, when you are with your loved ones or your romantic partners, you can have that oxytocin to cause you to bond together. And we also have dopamine is another one that can be released when we are doing enjoyable activities and being together with our family and friends as well.
And so that then supports your work and your passion and the importance of paying attention to your brain health. You mentioned three sources of chemical chemicals in the brain. Could you say those names again? Because I want to be able to remember that.
So I mentioned the endorphins. You can release those when you're exercising. Your oxytocin, that's the one you can think of a mother bonding with her newborn baby, or bonding that you get with romantic relationships, and also your dopamine receptors. Your dopamine.
I'm going to rush after this to write out those four terminologies so that this evening when I'm walking, I can have them on a note card and I can, retain, or I can look at them again, I can retain and remind myself, which is what you're saying, how vitally important my brain is and how hugely significant it is for me to pay attention to this gift, to this organ, to this instrument called the. How can I feed those systems? How can I feed those chemicals? Um, because if you don't pay attention, you're going to lose it. It's something you said earlier on. So how can I feed those natural chemicals?
That's a great question. And you might have heard before of the Mediterranean diet or the DASH diet, which is dietary approaches to stop hypertension, because those are touted again as having benefits for individuals that want to prevent cardiovascular disease, coronary artery disease, to help people that have high blood pressure to manage their high blood pressure. Well, they have created a hybrid of these two diets, which is called the MIND diet. So you can think about your brain or your mind, if you will. So it's a hybrid of that, and it's called the Mediterranean DASH Intervention for Neurodegenerative Delay. So they just have 10 foods that they want you to focus on and 5 to avoid. So the 10 foods that they recommend to be focused on in order to help your brain health and to prevent neurodegenerative delay. Number 1 is green leafy vegetables. So that's our kale, our collards, callaloo, cabbage. It's recommended to have 6 or more servings of that a week. And a serving size, if it's raw, we're thinking about 1 cup. And if it's cooked, you're thinking about a half a cup. So 6 or more of those a week. And then the second food to focus on is all other vegetables. So lots of vegetables going on here. And primarily the non-starchy vegetables. So we're going to exclude things like our potato and our yuca, and squash that has more starch in it. And in this category, you said, well, what's left? Well, you still have things like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, uh, some carrots, tomatoes, things like that. So I say eat the rainbow. So eat a wide variety of color with your vegetables. The third food that's recommended to focus on in your diet is berries, and this is berries of all kinds: blueberry, strawberry, raspberry, because they have a lot of antioxidants, which is so do the vegetables. So let me just back up for a minute, because a lot of these foods that is recommended in this diet, it's focused on antioxidants, which are substances that can help to fight off what we call free radicals. Well, what is a free radical? We make free radicals just by living. It's a molecule that can cause damage to our cell. Of course, if you live long enough, you're going to start aging. However, because we're going back to this, what does our environment look like? Depending on your environment, you might have excess free radicals, things like pollution, smoking cigarettes, excess radiation exposure can all contribute to us having more free radicals. So this diet is focused on upping our antioxidant intake to try to have a balance, so we're not coming down with diseases, in this case, neurodegenerative diseases. So far we have our green leafy vegetables. All other non-starchy vegetables are berries. It's also recommended to have nuts, 5 servings of nuts a week, olive oil, whole grains, fish, specifically fatty fish, which is going to be like your salmon, sardines, mackerel, trout, because those have those good omega-3s in it that are good for our brain health. Also beans, poultry, so chicken and turkey, non-fried, and wine is recommended no more than once a day, but wine does have something called resveratrol in it, which has antioxidant properties again and helps to regulate the aging process. Now, the 5 foods that is recommended to avoid in this MIND diet is butter and margarine, cheese, red meat. It recommends to limit to no more than 3 servings a week, fried food no more than once a week, and pastries and sweets no more than once a week is the recommendation. And you might say, why is this? This goes back to the talk about the free radicals versus the antioxidants. We want to try to up our antioxidants. And the fried foods, we know the margarines have the trans fat, which we know are associated with increased risk of cardiovascular disease and high blood pressure and stroke. They're just not good for us. Again, the cheese, lots of saturated fat, red meats, we now know. Again, it can have high content of saturated fat. The fried foods, when we heat the oils over a certain temperature, with the temperature we need to fry, the beneficial properties can be lost, and they can actually create more free radicals in our body. And pastries and sweets, we know now that sugar can also be, excess consumption of sugar can also be associated with some detrimental health benefits.
I need to breathe here, hearing what the foods or nutrition I must pay attention to directly feed my brain to keep it as healthy as possible as I age. And we're all aging here. You say pay attention to well, let me go negative. Quit the fries with the fatty plastic or fake plastic oil. That's just my language here. Interesting. Careful about your red meat intake is another that By the same token, and to accentuate the positive, my brain needs the greenery. You know, it needs the healthy vegetables here that comes with the healthy nutrients, you know, the vitamins that my body requires, that my brain needs. Um, is that a reasonable assessment of you know, the mind? Could you give us that name again of the diet you
The mind diet.
MIND diet?
The mind, yes.
The mind diet. You know, I'm biting my tongue here. There are members of the Episcopal Church of the Holy Family on the call here, and I can just see someone like Ann Bennett saying to me, "Now, Father Ward, did you hear what Ms. Tyson said? You must eat healthy." Um, and and avoid the fried food that you love, Father Ward. You know, nothing more than a fried plantain, you know, or a fried dumpling or a fried fish. You talked about the eating fish, but how about instead of, you know, the fried fish is to bake it or, you know, or grill it, whichever, however is your choice. So you're affirming that kind of a healthy food to feed my brain.
Exactly. And it's not saying that you can never have these things. You're just supposed to limit, your fried foods no more than once a week, your pastry and sweet once a week. So there's still room, but in limited amounts.
But Miss Tyson here, you know, I said, you know, how I love planting. One of the things I've done, and maybe this is cheating actually, you know, here's a pastor going public talking about cheating, um, um, is that I would take my plantain and put it in the air fryer. I would take my plantain and put it in the hair dryer.
That's actually a good option. You're using a lot less oil than if you were going to be deep frying. So
So it's okay to. I shouldn't be saying this on you know, I can have a plantain per day when I put it in the hair dryer.
when
No.
you're comparing it to deep frying, that sounds like a good compromise.
What I'm leading up to is the whole notion and the importance of brain health is something that we can enjoy. You know, it's not such a impossible topic that I must, you know, that I have to be, you know, so nervous and to be scared. Pay attention. I like the name of that diet, you know, the mind diet. The mind diet here. Um, as we head toward wrapping up our time together, Ms. Tyson, you know, what else would you like to encourage our audience to remember or to maybe research to learn further to have a healthy brain or keep your brain healthy?
Yes. We didn't talk about sleep yet.
Oh yes. Let's take the rest of the night so I don't have to go to sleep.
But focusing on getting a good night's sleep is also very important for your brain. That's when it, your brain, it needs time to rest too, just like the rest of our bodies. So, and having a lack of sleep on a consistent basis is associated with decreased memory ability, decreased ability to perform critical thinking skills. So that is very important. And if you're not sleeping well, please speak to your health provider, let them know about it, see what can be done or what advice they can give you to try to, because it's critically important.
Sleep, sleep, sleep. So I only, and this is tongue in cheek. I'm just having some fun, and I'm coming to fun in a moment. Are you saying that I only need 2 hours per night or 2 hours a day of 24 hours of sleep, or do I need more than two? What's recommended here?
So everybody is a little bit different. However, we know that most people need about 8 to be optimal. And, we have those people that say they function well on 4 hours of sleep. But like I said, in the long run, that's not the healthiest option, even though you might seem like you're doing okay now. I'm guilty too, myself included, running on short sleep. But when you're thinking about the long term, it should become a priority for you to get adequate sleep. And like I said, the exact amount of hours is going to vary from person to person, but usually we're looking in a range of at minimum 6, but more to like 7 to 9 a person optimally.
I'm hoping that Ann Bennett, and I'm calling her name because she identified herself, Ann Bennett, who is a member of Holy Family, will hear this. And you need to sleep some more. And please sleep some more. Instead of sending me emails at 1, 2, 3 in the morning, and there you see, are you listening, Father? Get your what I just demonstrated, and thank you, Anne, for doing where I was going, is to be able that I think and guide me on this, Patrise, that the brain needs joy, it needs laughter, it needs the release, it needs the wow factor, any of those terminologies. Rather than be overcome by the fear of the pandemic or the fear of what's happening currently, is to be able to take it seriously, but to be able to break through and to be able to laugh.
Absolutely. We definitely want to use wisdom for what's going on in the world around us, but to not be so focused on it that we're not having some moments of enjoyment in our life, not to be glued to the television all day long watching the latest headlines. Sometimes for our mental health, we need to turn that off sometimes, you said, and find a comedy.
My wife and I just spent the last couple of days with our grandchildren as part of going back to school. And it was another wonderful experience just to see. We were with 4 of the 7, and to see how they were just rolling over, bumbling on top of each other, and they were also fighting. And grandfather encouraged the fighting to continue, because grandfather was on the ground and grandfather was in on all of this. And I thought about this topic. That experience, may seem like, you need to go easy, but it was also the joy, a child being a child and children. So I want to go back and hang out with our grandchildren a little bit more and get a little bit of that touch of the natural brain food.
Absolutely.
The joy. And so, well, I wonder if there are any more questions from our participants, our audience, that we could send your way, Ms. Tyson. Well, seeing none so far. Folks, we have been this afternoon having a wonderful conversation, somewhat of an unusual topic, talking about brain health with Miss Patrise Tyson, very much a clinical research person, doing great work here in our part of the world. A member of the Miami chapter of Black Nurses Association, doing great work. And scrolling across the bottom here, you see how you can connect with the Black Nurses Association. Ms. Tyson, this is a surprise question. I believe that the Black Nurses is available to our community, to our groups, to our faith communities, even as resource to come in and get some church people, get some Christians really healthy.
Absolutely, we are available. Just send us a message. I left my personal email on the banner if you have any more questions about today's topic, but you can also email BNA, MiamiBNA@gmail.com, excuse me, MiamiBNA@gmail.com if you would like Black nurses to participate in any of your upcoming events or to provide some further education sessions.
Absolutely. I mean, if you were to come to Holy Family, and I would love for you to Holy Family, one of the questions, and this is just being, joyfully ludicrous for a moment, Ms. Tyson, I would want to ask you about how I can go about regrowing my lost hair.
I'll talk to you offline about that.
I'm purposely being a fool for Christ in what I just said. To be able to say that brain health is gift. And you have significantly valued and what I've heard from you is pay attention to your whole health, but pay also attention to your brain's health and well-being.
Exactly.
Ms. Tyson, it has been a great joy, and I say that from the heart, a great joy to have you here this evening. And I'm going to give you the last word. Maybe you want to give us a prescription, or you want to sing a song, or you want to, just rejoice. You have the last word, Ms. Tyson.
Well, thank you so much for having me today. It has truly been a pleasure. And like I said, we get just one brain. So I encourage everyone to think about that when you're going about your choices. Become active if you're not, because like I said earlier, it's not it all is lost cause. If you haven't been active so far, you still have time. You're living. We have time to make changes that can promote better health.
Thank you so very much. And please come back again. Maybe in the future we could talk about brain health and our young people. We can talk about brain health and our grandchildren being and growing, to healthy adults.
I would love to.
A great difference in our community, and very particularly in our community of African history.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Goodbye, and thank you all for joining us this afternoon, this evening, this morning. We're in whatever time you are connecting with us. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye.